Hey, what's up, rock stars? Welcome back to the channel. You guys know that for I don't know how much in the future, but for now we're going to be splitting Top the Blogs into two videos. This one being the Let's Talk About It, which is usually going to be just topics that are a little bit more sensitive and things that I'm not sure that will get me demonetized. So instead of it linking it to my Top of the Blogs video, which is usually my highest watched video, especially these days because ain't nothing on, you know, sis got to get to her coins. Oh, also before we get, I guess should I mention that in this video? Yeah, I'll mention that in this video. So 2 weeks ago, when I did my very, you know, when I started up this Let's Talk About It series again, I did a video. I started that series with the George Floyd case, okay? And I did not realize at the time that I had put that video as a premiere. I had absolutely no idea. I don't know what I pushed, but you know, people who make the videos will know there's a public, you make your video public or publish it, but underneath it, it has set as a premiere. I must have clicked that and didn't realize it. I was doing it on my phone, bitch can't see, you know, old lady eyes and all of that. So I guess I set it as a premiere, but I didn't know. So it went on as a premiere and you guys were in the chats. You guys know whenever I do premieres, I am always in the chat so that I can talk with you guys. I wasn't even in the chat because I didn't know. Which was fine. I hate that I missed the chat with you guys because that actually would have been something that was good that we all could have kind of discussed at the same time. But I also want to mention that there were some people that actually super chatted me. And you guys, I would never, ever try to profit from a topic as serious as, you know, something like a George Floyd. That whole situation, I would have never put that video as a premiere because I know that people will super chat me and I don't want to be trying to make money off of George Floyd's demise, you know, how terribly he was killed and all of that. So what I noticed it because I was looking at my analytics and there was like one day when it was up and I was like, what is that? And then after I started looking at my analytics closer, then I was able to see that I got about $85 in super chat. So I didn't feel good about that. I wasn't sure if I didn't know how I could get the money back to people that had given it to me. So then I just decided that I would donate it to, you know, one of these mini foundations that are out right now that are trying to further the cause of the Black Lives Matter movement. So what I ended up doing was, I made the donation of the money that was sent to me minus the tax that YouTube takes out. YouTube takes out like 30%. So I did about $60. It was a $60 donation to Colors of Change. Okay, so just in full disclosure, I just don't like the fact that people was giving me money. You know, I'll take a super chat any other time, you know, if that's what I was trying to do, you know, but not when it's something like that. It didn't feel right. And I felt much better once I sent that donation off to them. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that was never my intention to be trying to profit off of that. Okay, but anyway, that being said, I'm also splitting up these videos like that just so that I know that I can, you know, nothing is on, so I'm not really getting, like, this week has just been a bust. So I was like, let me just try to spread out these two videos and, you know, so I can get a little coin off of this, you know. It'll be a regular video. It's not going to be a premiere or anything. But I just wanted to let you guys know that, okay? Now, Let's Talk About It today. You know, we got to start off with Sepp. You know, I don't know what to say about him. He is just, okay, so he is having his first rally. You know, he's big on these rallies and he's been almost going crazy that he has not been able to get in front of his base the way that he likes to so that they can pump up his ego and, you know, and build his head up and get him back right so that he can face, you know, the regular people of the United States of America. So he's holding his first rally. It's coming up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know, he wanted to do it in, I think it was in North Carolina. it was either North Carolina or South Carolina, one of the Carolinas, they would not do it because he could not agree with the governor as far as the social distancing, what they're trying to do there, make sure that their, the residents of that state were safe. All right, or wherever the city was where he was planning on having the rally. So he pulled out there, of course, why SAG here in Georgia, he wanted to have him come here. I'm sure he was chomping at the bit, saliva and all, trying to make sure that he got his beloved YSAP down here for that damn rally. Well, ended up not doing it here in Georgia. It ended up being down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, so he's going to have it there, and it is going to be on Juneteenth. Not because he loves you black folks that was emancipated from slaves so much, but yet and still I believe it's a slap in the face. Okay, that YSAP is just, he is just, so of course all I saw was Juneteenth. When I saw that he was having the thing on Juneteenth, I was just like, this motherfucker here. Okay. But then it took Dan Rather to tweet to me to really put it out there for me. Dan Rather tweets. So let me just get this straight. Now this ain't verbatim, but this is what he basically said. So YSAP is giving a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where to date, that was where the largest slaughter of black people happened. I went on to further to look and see what that slaughter might be, and it was Black Wall Street. This happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. YSAP just chooses to have his rally there where that happened. And then as a further kick in the ass, he's having it on Juneteenth. He's doing all of this, and you guys still don't see a problem with YSAP. He's having a rally for racists, if you ask me. It is just so crazy to me that he continues to do the things that he does. And, well, you know what? People are starting to call him on it. Or maybe I should say some Republicans are starting to call him on this bullshit. Okay, some of them are sick of him. And more and more we are seeing people in the higher up places are starting to express their disgust with him, parting with the party, which is very hard for Republicans to do. You guys know historically they stick together and they deal with their bullshit behind closed doors. But more and more people are finding themselves not being able to withstand his bullshit and are speaking out. So it's an interesting time. Like I said, very chaotic. But then there are still some people who will, if they don't outright support him, then they'll act like they don't know. Okay. And case in point in this, we know about the 75-year-old man that was pushed in Buffalo, New York, I believe it was, when he somehow got entangled up with a force of police that were in riot gear, that were marching towards wherever they were going. This old white gentleman got in the middle of it and was up in the police's face, and the police officer pushed him. Okay. The man flew back, okay, not tumbled, but you could tell he could never gain his footage, could never get his footage, and fell back on the ground, hit his head, snapped his head back, and was out after that. He was in a position that wasn't even natural to, you could tell something was very wrong there. He wasn't in a position where he just looked like he was laying. His body almost was like stiff, if that makes sense. So anyway, he's bleeding out of his ear, or was it the back of his head? He's bleeding out, and the police continue to walk over him. We all saw the very disturbing video. One of the police pissed that he was up in his face in the first place, and, somebody calling out to get a medic and all of that, but them still continuing on with their march. Nobody could be bothered long enough to stop and see if this gentleman was okay. Well, it turns out that the guy, even though he was seriously injured, I think they said something about a cracked skull or something like that, he's expected to be fine. But remember, he's 75 years old, right? So even though that can't be good for somebody of that age. I mean, a cracked skull ain't good for nobody, but it definitely can't be good for an older person like that. But They expect him to survive and he's going to be fine. Now, Sepp goes on to tweet after he watched the video, and I'm going to give you guys this one verbatim. Quote, Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment. At OANN, I watched. He fell harder than was pushed. Was aiming scanner. Could be a setup. End quote. You guys, now listen. Why do you think that this man is... Why do you believe that this man was planted? And for him to fall back and hit his head to bleed out on the floor. I mean, why do you believe that that would be a setup? He's going to say that he fell harder than he was pushed. And I'm thinking to myself, like, do you know how hard it is to recover? First of all, you going backwards. Okay? Even for somebody that's young, it's hard to recover your footage if you're not real quick on your feet. The older you get, I can't tell you how many times that I have been yanked out here by my dog. I done flew off, wig flew off and everything, you guys. The older you get, you can't gain your footage as quickly. And so there's absolutely no way that that man fell harder than he was pushed. He was going down, you know? And for him to insinuate, or not even insinuate, to just straight out basically say that he was a provocateur and he's part of Antifa and all, I was just like, he is really fucking crazy, you know? And so I was watching CNN because I was watching Don Lemon, who really needs a vacation, by the way. Anybody out there who watches who might have any insight, I don't know what's going to happen if Sepp, well, you know what? I won't even say it because Sepp has definitely got to get out of that office. But Don needs a vacation. He needs a vacation. And I'm talking about like for a month where he just goes somewhere and get his life together because Don is so fucking stressed out and over it. Oh my God, he can't get his hair edged up, child. Can't get a haircut. I mean, skin ain't looking good. Like he looks sallow. But on CNN, on his show, they were talking about the Republicans. Now, I done told you about the ones that just kind of turn a blind eye. There were so many people who were just like, oh, I don't know, I haven't seen the tweet. Or, oh, you know, I don't really pay attention to those things. Or, oh, you know. Everybody kind of brushed it off instead of saying it was bullshit, like they knew that it was. That's the most frustrating part about some of the Republicans. How can you look yourself in the face, in the mirror? How can you look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with the antics of Sepp? It's just crazy to me. I told you guys that I thought that he, you know, was starting to show himself a little bit more and more people are starting to kind of want to disconnect themselves from him. But then I also feel like it could rally up some of the crazies too. So, you know, I feel like even though we've been through a whole bunch of craziness, I think that in between now and November, it's going to get crazier. And that's a scary thought, you guys. So I don't know what to make of him. I don't. Like, every day I just be like, child, that one there. So yeah, that's the 411 on Sepp. Now let's talk about the George Floyd case, and more pointedly, let's talk about Derek Chauvin. Now, many of you guys got into my comments and said that Derek Chauvin was able to make bail and that he was out of jail. I looked all over the internet this morning trying to find the story. I was trying to find out who had bailed him out, or I looked all over, you guys. I could not find the story. That does not necessarily mean it's not true, but literally I punched in, is Derek Chauvin out of jail? Did Derek Chauvin make bail? Did Derek Chauvin be let out? I put all of these different, and nothing came up. So I don't know if that story is something that has hit the social media, but not necessarily true. I'm not sure. I don't really know what's going on there. But as far as I was able to find, he is not out of jail. I know that on Monday, his bail was set, and they set it for $1.25 million with no conditions. If he wanted to have conditions on there, which would be like he couldn't work in security, he couldn't have any firearms, he had to come to all of his court case appearances, then he could make bail for $1 million, okay? And then the other three guys, they had their bail was set at $1 million with no conditions, and $750,000 with conditions, basically the same conditions that Derek Chauvin had, which was no firearms, couldn't work as a security guard, and had to come to all of the court case appearances. So as far as I can tell, everybody is still in jail. If you guys know more than that, and know a credible place where it's being said that he was bailed out, then you guys can let me know in the comments. But as of now, I don't see that he is out. His next court date is set for June 29th. And I guess they're going to move it on along from there. There's been other talk about Chauvin. There was a guy named David Piney who had come out and said that George Floyd and Derek Chauvin worked together at a nightclub. I had been hearing that, but nobody was really saying it specifically as far as the media was concerned. But supposedly those two had like intersecting shifts at a nightclub where they would work as security. And supposedly the story has started to get out that they knew each other pretty well and that they didn't really like each other. They said that Derek Chauvin would be very forceful with the black patrons at the club, and supposedly George Floyd didn't like that. So that story had been floating around. Like I said, I never saw it in the actual journalistic type media, but from social media I had been hearing that. So this guy David Piney was on the news, and he was saying, oh yeah, they knew each other very well, and they had gotten into it, and all of this. Well, I was listening to him and I was just like, for some reason, it doesn't make sense to me. One, I felt like if George Floyd knew Derek, he would have at some point mentioned his name. Like, Derek, come on, get off of me, or said something like that. I never ever felt like at any point that he knew him like that. But I could be wrong, maybe George, because it's definitely a very extreme duress right here. Maybe he just hadn't mentioned Derek's name, but I just didn't think that they knew each other like that. Well, now this David Piney guy has retracted his story, changed it, said, oh no, it was another African-American gentleman that he was thinking was George Floyd. That was not George Floyd that Derek Chauvin had. I was just like, y'all know they think we all look alike. And so then I know the news people are mad that they even gave him the time of day, because it was just like, so anyway, right now they're saying that they did not work together in the club, or they didn't know each other like that. Okay. Also, you guys, I want to talk about Brianna Taylor, because the push for bringing her murderers to justice is really getting revved up, and rightfully so. There is now a video going out that says, has a lot of celebrities at the beginning that says, do you know the story about Brianna Taylor? And then it goes on to have her mother interviewed and many people who are at the forefront of the fight for her killers to be brought to justice, including Tamika. Why can't I think of her name? It's her birthday today and everything. Tamika, the one. Oh my gosh. I'll put it on the screen. You guys know who I'm talking about. But they are really trying to make sure that her death doesn't become swept away in all of this other very large George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery case that's going on. And you guys know she is the girl, the EMT, who was in her bed at night with her boyfriend asleep. The police used a battering ram to get in her front door. And when the boyfriend heard them kicking in, he thought somebody kicked in the door. He pulled his gun that he actually had a license to carry. He pulled his gun out and shot. Well, he shot his one shot, and they shot 20 shots into the bedroom, and they hit Brianna 8 times, okay, and killed her. And then the story is just that from what the mother said, the police tried to make her feel like the boyfriend did it, wanted to know if the daughter had any enemies that would want to hurt her. I mean, they completely went off left field somewhere. Instead of just admitting that they were actually there because they were trying to find like a drug suspect or something that they actually already had in jail, okay? Instead of them admitting to that, they tried to wrap the story around somebody else came in there and killed Brianna and that she might have had an enemy and it could have even been her boyfriend. I mean, you have to see the interview because there's an interview that the mom has done with some people where she's talking about how they tried to pin it on the boyfriend, basically. But how are they going to do that? You know, so it's just, like I said, it's very scary sometimes when you think about the power that the police department has and how they can just pretty much write up a story the way that they want to. It's their word against two witnesses, one that's dead and the other one that's a black man, you know, who had a gun. So, you know, it's unfortunate. Anyway, that happened way back in like March. Here we are in June. They finally put one of the guys that got the warrant for the no-knock warrant, the guy that got it approved, they finally put him on administrative leave. That's the best that they've done so far. And they're going to continue with this push to bring those as 3 guys. And they're going to continue the push to bring them to justice. And I hope to see that it happens. I believe if they continue the pressure, it will happen. Okay. We can talk about voter suppression out here in Georgia, which is not a surprise. It happens a lot here in Georgia. This is the South. Okay. And much of the reason why I try to make sure that I vote early, because there's always some bullshit at the polls on voting day. And this past voting day, which was Tuesday, I told the kids that they needed to get up and go vote. And we had a new location that they told us that we needed to go to. Now, if you guys was watching on the news, they was actually showing the actual place that we go to vote on the news because there was a lot of drama going on there. First of all, they didn't open on time, hour and a half late, your cousins. Okay, why the fuck you not there at 7? But on top of that, half of the machines weren't working. They redistrict or made all of these people, instead of breaking us up and going into different other areas, they had everybody going to this one church. Okay, we used to go to a rec center, Cliftondale Rec Center, that we used to go to, but from what I understood, they had closed that location, made everybody go to this church. So everybody's over at this church. They got the long line, people trying to social distance and all of that. Okay, people are in line for 2 and 3 hours, and to get up there to the front and for them to say, oh no, you're supposed to be over at Cliftondale Rec. Well, that's not what they started trying to tell people to go to Cliftondale Rec. And I'm telling Joe, because Joe is calling me, and I said, no, Joe, don't leave, because we're registered to go to that location. You can't just pick a place. This is not early voting. This is the actual voting day. You have to go to the place that your paperwork says that you have to report to. They're not going to have your information over there. So don't you get out of that line. You stay in that line and you vote. So, you know, they ended up staying in line, getting in there and voting, but some people were starting to get out of line to go over to Cliftondale Rec Center. And I don't even know if Cliftondale, I never could understand. I mean, I never could figure out if they actually had voting booths over there as well, but just a lot of confusion. Shit you don't need on voting day. On top of that, it's 90 fucking degrees. It's hot. People sitting outside for all of these hours. I mean, it's definitely a ploy. It's a plot to keep black votes from getting put in. Okay. And it's interesting that it only happens in the black neighborhoods, you know. Of course, they had Brian Kemp, and they had another Secretary of State or whatever his name was, you know, and they were talking and they were trying to blame it on the counties and saying that they weren't prepared, and that if they knew that there were problems with their machines, that they should have handled it before, because this date had been extended. We were supposed to have this voting day was supposed to be a couple of weeks ago. So they're trying to place the blame on the counties. Well, now the counties are starting to say that they're going to sue the state because it don't make no damn sense that only in the black neighborhoods was people having these problems. I mean, I have friends that live in different areas and white areas, and they walked on in, cast their vote, and had no problems. Okay, down here on the south side, you got people out here damn near about to have a fucking heat stroke just because we trying to put our vote in. You got all of the mayors and the CEOs and people trying to, you know, please beg people not to get out of line. People that was supposed to be going to work, not going to work because come on now. It should not be that difficult for us to cast our vote. And so now this just makes you worry, like, come voting day in November, if they have an early vote, for sure if you live in Atlanta, you know, and it's for sure if you live in South Fulton County, for sure you need to vote early because nobody got time for all of this, okay? And it's just an easier way for them to just not get your vote counted. So, yeah, they're definitely trying to suppress the vote. And it's unfortunate that Georgia is the place. But like I said, I'm not surprised at all. Did you guys get out and vote? All of the states that were scheduled for a primary that day, did you guys get out and vote? And then lastly, you guys, Andrew Cuomo, who's the governor of New York, he is pushing very hard for this Karening law, okay? He wants it to become a hate crime for people to just call the police on black men in particular and falsely, you know, reporting a crime. And this come on the heels of Amy Cooper calling the police on Christian Cooper when he was bird watching in the Ramble in Central Park. She was upset with him. You guys remember the story. Now, this legislation is not new. They say in 2018, a Brooklyn assemblyman by the name of Felix Ortiz, he is the one who brought up this law originally, and it didn't go anywhere. But now with Andrew Cuomo backing it, he's going to do this Karening law, as well as making it banning chokeholds for, you know, the police cannot do a chokehold on a civilian who is unarmed. Okay, if they do, then that is going to be immediate prosecution. They're going to assign a special prosecutor to the case so that we ain't got to worry about the bias of the police department and the DA's office and the this and the that. It will already be taken out of their hands. So that is what the Governor Cuomo is working on in New York. And I hope to see that it happens. And that is pretty much it for Let's Talk About It. You guys make sure that you get down in the comments and respond or comment on all the stories that we gave today. And I'm going to get on off of here so that I can do top of the blogs. Make sure that you rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm It's Rocks. The channel is for It's Rocks. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, rock stars. Bye.